Fallout is one of the greatest RPG franchises to ever be made, but the best era of Fallout is its original classic iteration. The original Fallout, Tim Kane's first major production, and Fallout 2, the sequel that massively expanded upon it, are some of the most interesting CRPGs ever made. I enjoy Bethesda's take on the series much like many others, but while they are responsible for the mass appeal Fallout has in the modern day, the overall design of player choice and world building of Bethesda's Fallout games pale in comparison to the tone, theme, and thesis of the original two titles. New Vegas, which tries to match the vibe of the older games, is beloved and an art piece set apart from its Bethesda fellows for a reason, and that's because the tonality of Fallout massively changed following Fallout 2. New Vegas attains that game's tone in stark contrast to the entirely insularized Bethesda approach of 3, 4, and 76. You're watching Rayl Deal Games, and today, I want to shine a light on the oft-ignored roots of the Fallout franchise, the truly special duology of the first two games. I make new gaming videos every Wednesday and Friday, and you may like my other and future work. The first Fallout game sets the tone for the world, and it's not a happy or cheery one. The Vault Dweller is given the task of finding a replacement water chip for Vault 13, and they're given 150 days to complete this task. The player is able to extend this deadline by paying water merchants in the hub to deliver water to Vault 13, but this is only a balm, a band-aid to the Vault's problem. The true solution requires the player to go to Vault 12, hidden beneath the irradiated ghoul city of Necropolis. The dire nature of Vault 13's plight, coupled with the time limit, is the major reason why the general plotline of the first Fallout is one of the best in the series. The game doesn't provide the player with infinite freedom until the second act, where they need to combat the Master and his mass-produced super mutant army. The design of the military base, where the super mutants are produced, and the cathedral where the Master resides are simply excellent. The player can choose to fight their way into each, or they can take a more subversive, stealthy approach. In the military base's case, the player can even ally themselves with the Brotherhood of Steel Paladins that'll assist them in their assault. Otherwise, they can sneak in with a stealth boy or talk their way in with speechcraft. Once inside, the player needs to go to the bottom of the base, and on the bottom floor the player can reach with the first set of elevators. The design of the military base is further opened up, allowing the player other avenues by which to approach the destruction of the super mutant army. They can allow themselves to be captured, being brought before the lieutenant of the base, which is a mutated version of Harold's friend, who will torture the player until they divulge the location of Vault 13. Unlike Bethesda's games, the player can actually get a bad ending here by selling out their compatriots, leading to an alternate ending cutscene. By holding on and not giving in, the player will end up imprisoned. Lockpicking their way free, they can get down to the bottom floor, allowing them to still achieve their ultimate goal of destroying the base. The lieutenant doesn't actually have to be engaged with at all, because the player just needs to get a keycard from the religious acolytes in the command center. With it, the Vault Dweller is able to set a self-destruct sequence, destroying that base, and accomplishing one half of the conditions for a successful run of the game. The variability in the way the player is able to accomplish this task, including getting a bad ending by selling out Vault 13, is something Bethesda's games don't provide the player, making the choices the player makes feel like they matter less. The Cathedral is even more open in its design. Just like with the military base, the player can sneak in or blast their way to the secret base below. Once at the bottom level, there's actually 3 ways to resolve the menace of the Master. They can use a high science skill to hack the mainframe, allowing them to set a self-destruct sequence, or they can convince the Master that his plan is inherently flawed because of the sterile nature of the super mutants. You see, the Master's goal is the improvement of the human species, a forced evolution to provide them with the biology necessary to survive the irradiated wasteland of their own making. In a way, this is a noble goal corrupted by the ignoble means by which it's being completed. Convincing the Master that his dream is a sham that would lead to the extinction of all life causes him to commit suicide by detonating the Cathedral himself. He's so dedicated to the idea of humanity's preservation that being a danger to its survivability is not a reality he can live with. There's even an honor displayed by the Master here with the way he provides the player enough time to escape safely.
You made this up to fool me.
Fool! Me!
But it cannot be. This would mean that
All my work
has been for nothing. Everything that I've tried to... A failure! It can't be. I don't think that I can continue to have done the things I have done in the name of progress and healing. It was madness. I can see that now. Madness. There is no hope. Leave now. Leave while you still have
hope.
Alternatively, the player can just kill the Master with their weapons, although this is a particularly difficult thing to do. The variability in the way this quest can be resolved is foundationally different from the way Bethesda approaches similar tasks. In several instances, the player in Fallout 3 can use science or speech to resolve conflicts. However, these solutions are so incredibly signposted that it doesn't feel genuine to the choices the player makes with their buildcraft. To achieve the Master suicide solution, they have to talk to specific people in the Brotherhood of Steel complex. Without doing that, they can't attain that specific resolution to the dungeon. Bethesda RPGs don't obfuscate solutions to quests in this way, which foundationally harms the overall value of choice within Fallout 3 and 4. Alternate solutions for problems requires that the player just upgrade their speechcraft or other relevant skill, which is counter to the way speech is expressed in the first game. As such, the player has more agency in the outcome of the game within the original than what exists now in the franchise. There's also a thematic brilliance to the primary conflict of the first game. The Vault Dweller is sent on his quest initially by the Vault 13 Overseer, and his ultimate goal is the preservation of humanity by the continued existence of Vault 13, a safe haven of survival sequestered away in the dark corners of the wasted world. It's interesting then that the Master is a fleshy Cronenberg monster fused to an Overseer chair of his own, almost like the game itself is a duel between Overseers. There's a parallelism to their goals too, even if their means are counter to one another. Each wants the preservation of humanity in the acrid atmosphere of a post-nuked planet. The Master seeks to do so by forcing evolution via the FEV, or Forced Evolution Virus. The Vault 13 Overseer attempts to do so by maintaining a conservative view of humanity, one that is preserved within the walls of the Vault. Each selfishly pushes for their goal against the autonomy of the people of which they seek to save. Forced evolution is a process that can destroy the subject's mind, which is why so many super mutants are stupid, whereas the Vault 13 Overseer's goal entraps the Vault Dwellers in a confined world that is a corrupted facsimile of the world values that existed pre-war. In the end, this is why the Vault 13 Overseer casts the Vault Dweller out, as their mere success is a threat to his concept of how humanity survives the apocalypse. In this way, Fallout as a franchise is foundationally centered on its core themes and central story, which is why this particular game feels so unique and special when the modern Bethesda approach is taken into account. This bastardized parallelism exists in Fallout 2 via the Brotherhood of Steel and Enclave. Each represents the power of pre-war technology, but each levies this technological superiority in differing ways. The Brotherhood of Steel hoards technology, studying it and sequestering it away so that it may not be used to cause a second apocalypse. The Enclave uses pre-war tech to brutally achieve their goals. In fact, when the Enclave finds Vault 13, they gun down the entire establishment, killing everyone. There's a eugenics theme present in the Enclave, as they see any corruption of the human genome to be something that must be expunged from the world. Frank Horrigan, the mutated Santa, is an Enclave agent that was exposed to the FEV during the Enclave's excavations of the Mariposa military base from the first game. A specially crafted power armor suit is made for him, giving him his astounding stature and imposing power. This is a good villain, and Fallout 2 takes the first game's focus on a central guiding goal to heart by making the player cross paths with Horrigan periodically throughout the game. It sets him up as a real threat, which is something classic Fallout does way better than the Bethesda games. The Master and Horrigan are so foreshadowed that when the player comes to blows with them, they truly live up to the reputation each game sets up. Caesar in New Vegas gets close to this in some ways, but the player is able to find him relatively early on in the New Vegas campaign. There's little time for the mystique and mythos of Caesar to be properly established in the player's mind before they actually find him. The villains match the darker, grittier tone of the original titles, and this design methodology carries over to the world building of the original Fallout Duology. Starting out, vaults weren't experimental facilities where loads of weird, wacky things happened. They were survivalist shelters, and some were even equipped with Gex, or Garden of Eden creation kits, to ensure the complete survival of humanity. The world itself reflects this, as in Fallout 1, the first two major towns the player comes across have very terrestrial concerns. Shady Sands has a rad scorpion problem that necessitates the eradication of their breeding grounds. Later on, Tandy is abducted by the Khans, a group of raiders, and the player is tasked with finding and freeing her. The other early game settlement is Junktown, a city with a conflicting power structure. On one side is a more traditional police and mayoral structure, as embodied by Killian Darkwater. When the player meets him, an assassin attempts to kill him. This assassin was hired by the other dominant power in Junktown, Gizmo, a real scumbag, individual hell-bent on creating a gambling town where all of the money and resources funnel upwards to him at the top. These two individuals, diametrically opposed, provide the player with a choice. Do they assist Killian for the good of Junktown's citizenry, or do they side with Gizmo, who will assist the Vault Dweller more in achieving their goal of finding a water chip with further funding? Gizmo is himself almost a critique of capitalism, of the idea that the whip of trickle-up economics can be as real as slavery incarnate. The hub, thus named as it is a hub of financial activity and the residence of all major traders and cavalriers in the wasteland, keeps its citizens subservient to the system because of the way everyone is indebted to the wealthiest members of society. This is actually one of the injustices that the Master seeks to undo, as all super mutants would be truly equal in his esteem, and the idea of resource scarcity being used against them would be futile since they are a hardier species, not requiring the same amount of food, water, or shelter as everyone else in the wasteland. These towns are incredibly dreary, absent of any hopefulness, which contrasts greatly with those in Fallout 3 and 4 like Diamond City, Rivet City, and Megaton, each surviving with a more balanced, democratically geared governance and distribution of wealth. Each has their own social castes, of that there's no doubt, but the boundaries between them are less severe than those present in a place like the Hub. The major tonality shift between classic Fallout and Bethesda's vision actually does start in Fallout 2, that shift between seriousness to silliness present in abundance in that game. For example, the player comes across a trading settlement named Modoc fairly early on. In this town, the player can be found in a compromising situation with either a man or woman that results in marriage between the player's character and them. This can come out of basically nowhere and creates a tonal whiplash between the sordid situation of the town and this event. There's also allusions in this game, such as the TARDIS encounter, the Monty Python reference, and the Hubology organization in San Francisco, which is a clear parody of Scientology, including even a Tom Cruise stand-in character. However, the silliness of moments like this, while odd, are relatively small in scope, self-confined to their individual encounters. Their mere presence adds some levity to the overall game and usually doesn't have the same blasé approach to human suffering that Fallout 3 does with the Megaton explosion choice, especially since the player will be denied moments like this if they choose to be truly terrible. Fallout 2 has roleplay perks that are acquired by the way the player chooses to go through the game. If they choose to become a slaver, certain settlements will shoot them on sight, which is not how that works in Fallout 3. That's what I mean by the blasé nature of human suffering. In Fallout 3, the player can sell the children of Little Lamplight into slavery, and this doesn't have the same emotional weight in that game because there's no social consequence for doing so. In Fallout 2, the truly heinous evil actions lead to ostracization from Wasteland society, aside from areas of the world where the power structure is centered on abusive political hierarchies, such as New Reno, the city run by 4 crime families. Even here, though, the player will still be denied working for the right family because they take a staunch stance against slavery. In this way, the individuals within Fallout 2 have their own moral compasses, and if the player doesn't align with them, they will be maligned from their communion, denied certain quest lines and rewards. Denying quests and levying the consequences, both good and bad, of player choice is not something Bethesda provides their players, which is why tough subjects such as slavery or the mass genocide of ghouls feels so blasé in Fallout 3 and doesn't tonally match the darker, realer feel of the original games. It's like the individual towns or factions in modern Fallout exist in their own pocket dimensions, where the actions of the player don't pass by word of mouth between settlements. It makes the worlds feel less cohesive than the older games. The multitude of outcomes for towns, such as New Reno, sets Fallout 2 apart as well. The player can help any of the 4 families rise to prominence, change the outcome of drug trade in the Wasteland with how they handle the jet production present in New Reno, or cause the eradication of the settlement by killing everyone in town. The multiple outcome nature of this town and the others in the original duology is something New Vegas does as well, but other than that, this aspect of Fallout just doesn't exist in modern games. In this way, it truly feels like the player is shaping the future of the Wasteland in a way that it just doesn't in 3 and 4. This is a true shame since modern players essentially can't experience Fallout 2 on modern hardware because of how broken the available versions are. Fallout 2 in particular needs a modern remaster because even with community recommended fixes, the game crashes consistently and is subject to a myriad of bugs and issues. Hopefully, this is something that changes soon because most Fallout fans haven't had the chance to experience the true best era of the franchise, the original duology. And that's the video, my guys. What do you all like the most about Fallout? Let's discuss this amazing RPG series in the comments below. And while you're down there, do me a solid by smashing that like button, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell. I make new gaming videos every Wednesday and Friday, and you may like my other and future work. Last Wednesday, I actually ranked every Fallout game from worst to best, and that's something you can watch right now if you have the time. Regardless of what you choose to do, thank you for keeping it real with Rayl Deal Games. Have an awesome day, gents.